Hey everyone, I wanted to wait until the weekend was over before posting this because I wanted to give you all a chance to watch Black Adam. But now that plenty of you have, I wanted to make it official that I am back as Superman.
Guys, we need to talk about Superman. So if you've been following my channel for a while now, you will know I don't really talk about any other superheroes other than Spider-Man. And even though my Spider-Man shorts have been posted and been responded with reactions, I realized that I probably should talk about something more positive for once and less controversial. I don't want to be one of those YouTube channels who starts wars in the comments, or that negative Nancy who always complains about the latest superhero flick and how nothing's original anymore. And despite all the stuff I said in the past, truthfully, comic book movies have actually been pretty good this year, and with more great ones coming along the way. So I was thinking to myself, what's one character I can talk about positively? One superhero that just brings out the most joy in anyone. And out of all the comic book characters out there, in my eyes, there isn't a better character that better represents positivity and hope than the Condiment King. Oh yeah, and Superman. And today I want to talk about the one portrayal of Superman that just gives up the layer of positivity that I think we all need in the comic book movie genre. But before we do that, I thought we'd take a look back on all the Superman portrayals we had in the past. Why? Because I thought it would be fun and I want to get my opinions out there. First up, Tom Welling. He plays Clark in the Smallville show, and even though I haven't finished it, he definitely has that Clark Kent nailed. And even though the whole show is a character study of Clark before he becomes Superman, I think that's a cool way of approaching the character. Next up, Henry Cavill. I don't think I've ever felt more bad for an actor than Henry. Sure, his Clark was kinda stale and his Superman was kinda edgy, but it really felt like over time his character was heading towards the right direction. It's obvious Henry loves the character, and as soon as we see him appear in the end credits scene for Black Adam, it looked like a brighter future was planned for this Superman. But then he's out. And while the future's still bright, you can't help but feel bad for the guy. Lastly, Christopher Reeves. Does he fit the physique of Superman? No. Does his costume hold up? Also no, but I can't deny the biggest smile I had watching his clumsy Clark and his heroic Superman. This is by far my favorite Superman when adapted to film, and I feel like that all goes to the heart of the performance. It feels like the actor and the director knew what kind of story they wanted to tell. But that's a subject we'll get on later. So that's it, right? Christopher Reeves is my favorite Superman. Surprisingly, no. I want to specify what I said. He is my favorite Superman in film, because there is a show that honestly I could not care less about that houses my favorite Superman, period. And I think one of the best scenes with this actor is in his very first appearance.
Yeah, I understand, Mr. White. No, Mr. White. Yes, Mr. White. Yes, I will have my article on your desk, lickety-split. Yes, sir, I know that no one says lickety-split anymore. Although you do still say Great Caesar's Ghost, which is a bit of a throwback. No, yes, sir, I'm very aware that we are not talking about you. Yes, sir. Yes, I will have that to you. Hello?
Hang on, we're hearing of a possible explosion aboard the Venture. We can only hope wherever he is, he's seeing this.
Now you're probably wondering, this guy? Really? But honestly, I don't think I've ever seen a performance that nails all the right aspects of the original character. He just nails the clumsy Clark energy while also being the beacon of hope that Superman was supposed to be. You know what's the one common trope that I've seen played over and over again nowadays? Evil Superman. Superhumans who can fly, shoot lasers, and use their power for evil. And that sounds like a cool idea at first, as it's the opposite of what Superman is. The only problem is that that's all we've gotten. Injustice, Homelander, Omni-Man, Brightburn, Icarus, all these characters are just evil Superman, and the audience begins to lose sight of what made the original Superman so compelling. Now you're probably saying to yourself, this guy isn't even talking about Superman, none of these characters are Clark Kent. And you know what? You're right. So let's look at the Clark Kent we do have. What do we know about him? He's an alien living on Earth who has to turn himself to Zod. He then has to stop Zod from destroying Earth. This results in the two clashing it out in Metropolis, destroying half their city, and then ends with Superman snapping Zod's neck. By the end of the movie, we know nothing about this Superman. We know nothing about this Clark Kent. We see him put on the costume, wear the S, and fly around, but we don't actually know what his intentions are. And Batman vs. Superman doesn't really help his case, as the movie's more focused on comparing Superman to a god who can't be trusted. We see this Superman get killed, and we feel nothing. And that's because we know nothing about this Superman. Now compare this to the scene I just showed you. In 50 seconds, we know all we need to know about the character. We see his Clark Kent. He's awkward. He doesn't really know how to talk to Mr. Right. He's clumsy. But as soon as the news turns on, we know what his intentions are. We know what he needs to do. He needs to save the people. Now this is what Superman's about. And while Supergirl as a show is really not that good, and I mean really not that good, it does the most with its Superman with the time he has. But part of what makes the Superman mythology so great is with his interactions with the world, with his family. People like Jimmy Olsen, Lois Lane, hell, even Batman. All these character interactions builds upon Superman's character. And it's sad that we haven't ever seen a Superman grow like that. As it stands, Superman and Supergirl is just a guest appearance and nothing more. And the movies seem more focused on building Superman up to be a threat. The best way I can describe the current situation with Superman is that the movies have Superman, but they're more focused on the super, the guy who can shoot lasers, destroy buildings. However, I think it's time we start focusing on the man aspect. The Clark Kent that struggles with his personal life, the one who interacts with other humans, the one who cares about people. It could be saving people from falling or doing something simple like saving a cat from a tree. But as it stands, we haven't really gotten that. Except we did, and no one knew about it. Alright, first off, I just need to get this right off the gate. This show has some balls for even existing. They could have played this safe and have this show be an origin story set in the past. But no, instead we have a Superman who's already married to Lois Lane and has 2 teenage sons, one of them having powers. On paper, this should not work at all. It premieres on the CW, who is known for having terrible writing, especially for teenagers. And it introduces characters that the general public is not too familiar with. But you know how I've been missing the man aspect of Superman? Well, not only is it here, but that's all that's here. And I love it. Little moments that we get from the show that show Superman's humanity. Moments such as Clark teaching Jordan how to fly, helping Chrissy and Lois at the Gazette, or simply helping Smallville prepare for their events. That is the kind of Superman I like to see. Now, I'm not going to convince you to go watch the show, as that's a huge task on its own. However, I will say this. If you want a glimpse of what this Superman is all about, Season 1, Episode 11. This entire episode is pretty much a mini Superman movie, and it's done beautifully. If there's anything you would want to check out from this Superman, this is your episode. And there's a lot more I want to say about this show, but honestly, I think that's something that deserves its own video. However, after finishing the show, one thought, one need that keeps going to my head over and over and over again, is the following sentence. We need Superman legacy. Let me ask you a question. And this is something that you could really think about and something that says a lot about the character of Clark Kent. That question is simply, why did Clark become Superman? Let's look at his origin. His alien parents send him to Earth to save him. He is found by 2 farmers who raise him. He then discovers he has powers and becomes Superman. But everyone knows this. This is Superman 101. The real question is, why is he Superman? In any other superhero story, there's always some motivation for our protagonist becoming the superhero. Peter Parker is driven by guilt as he let the robber get away, which ends up killing Uncle Ben. Bruce Wayne has to watch his parents get killed in a place where he couldn't do anything about it. His motivation is to offer protection so that no kid would ever have to go through what he had gone through. But for Superman, he's simply a man who wants to do good. His parents didn't tell him to be Superman, he just did that on his own. And in my eyes, that's the best kind of superhero. To me, the best kind of superhero stories are the ones that focus on what happens to the people behind the mask, what they have to deal with their personal lives. And no character has the potential to tell a more human story than Superman.
The thing that I'm most passionate about is not so much the nuclear issue as about a way of looking at the world that Superman represents. In fact, he says at the end of the movie, in a line that I wrote, he says, I just wish you could all see the Earth the way that I see it. Because when you really look at it, it's just one world. From his point of view out in space, when he's out there hanging around, it's the view you get from the space shuttle, and you see the Earth as this beautiful, fragile marble just hanging there in space, and that we need to take better care of it. We should think of ourselves, all of us, this world is Smallville, is a small town, and we should feel like neighbors. And if that idea sort of subliminally gets planted in kids throughout the world, then something can grow from that.